É, bom. É, bom. Ayrton Senna, shortly before he died, started a project with children working in the favelas that today is carried on by his sister, Vivienne Senna. And the idea of the project is to select children of high sporting ability from the favelas and to train them every day at universities throughout Brazil, not only in football, but in life skills as well.
The Institute of Ayrton Senna was created after Ayrton had a dream to help the Brazilian people. He principally wanted to help adolescents and younger children who are the victims of a flawed economic system, which isn't fair. I hope to dedicate the image of Ayrton to this great cause, which is for the children and adolescents of this country, so that they can achieve a more dignified life, which is their right.
Senna's first project is at the University of São Paulo. It's here that poor children with sporting ability receive specialist coaching and the life skills that could offer them greater opportunities. On his visit here, Simon reflects on his findings.
I think there's a mentality in England that we invented football, therefore there's no need to go and look at other countries because it's our game. I think we've got to get away from that. We can do what they do here, we've just got to look. You know, we have English qualities that the Brazilians don't have, and I don't think it's any use me just going back to England trying to copy a Brazilian style. It's rather like an impersonator trying to sound like Frank Sinatra. It's no good, we've got to look to be better. So what I'm trying to take from here is the technique of the Brazilians, ally it to some English strengths, and hopefully in the future we can be even better than the Brazilians.
The 15-year-olds of the Senna project are playing a game Simon has so far only heard of.
The main thing I'm interested in here is the game of Futebol de Salao. It's a five-a-side game, so there's less children playing and the children in the game are getting more touches. And the game's all about passing and moving, and the Brazilians have played it for years. It's played with a small ball, with one other difference. It's heavily weighted to encourage passing, creativity and better control of the ball, and I think this is the main reason why Brazil does so well as a footballing nation. Estamos muitos em Futebol de Salao, né? Muitos.
Demais, muito.
See?
Esse controle
all the time, all the time.
Controle de bola e esse balanço.
The children are using the feet very quickly, using a small ball, it's on the floor. I mean, this is a great start for kids. This is what kids need at the beginning, to become master of the ball before they move on to it. Because I've seen your kids here this morning, using the ball here on the sole of the feet, more than a lot of professionals could in England. It's all there. It's incredible that nobody's been here to see this and that we've never had this game played in England, because for me there's nothing better for developing a child's technique. You can see it here this morning. I mean, these kids have got wonderful ability, but they obviously weren't born with it. You've developed it through this.
The skills of the boys and the fluidity of the game prompt Simon to take notes for a coaching manual he's to write on his return home.
The players don't have specific positions other than the goalkeeper, like defence and attack. They rotate depending on the game. Not quite like our five-a-side when we tend to pick up a man each. It's more a rotational sort of thing. So that's good for the child, getting experience of every position on the pitch. I think without doubt poverty is a factor, but to me it's not the prime reason why there are so many people in Brazil playing football. I think people have a real love of expressing themselves with the ball, and they want to be playing with it. For any of the children here in Brazil, it's never a problem to train. It's something they always want to do. They're very attentive and they just love playing football.
In the hills outside São Paulo, you'll find one of Brazilian football's most passionate coaches, whose love for his sport is somewhat obsessive.
Walter Gama is one of the most respected coaches in Brazil, particularly well known for his work with developing good young players. At the moment, he's coaching a group of young children at the Santa Ana Institute, a small, poor club, but a club that's produced excellent results, beating all of the professional teams in São Paulo.
Fundamentally, it's the game for the game's sake, football for football. You cannot train for football without a ball. My opinion is enjoy your work, football for football's sake.
As part of Walter's structured training session, he actively encourages the children to play barefoot with a small ball to develop their skills. It's not an approach you're likely to see taken seriously by English coaches.
I think all one's work depends on your own method of working. It depends solely on your willingness, your interest and your motivation. It's something which is very personal. If you begin with this attitude and show the kids your enthusiasm, they'll want it too. We specifically adopt music and dance as part of a footballer's makeup. This is something that's naturally and originally Brazilian and helps a lot. It's the movements and rhythm of our culture, such as the samba.
Bearing this in mind, do you think it's realistic that I can go back to England and get the children there to play in this style of football?
It's important for English children not only to play football, but also they should learn to dance.
Walter's methods have recently borne fruit. He's just coached Jamaica to their first ever World Cup finals. Another great export has returned to São Paulo State, having once partnered Diego Maradona at Napoli. Careca has invested in a new coaching centre for children.
As a child, during the 1986 World Cup, my friends and I on the local football pitch at home, we'd go out every night after the games, and Careca was the name we'd always shout when we scored a goal.
Muller. Oh, Muller's turned them well. We've got Junior in a good position. And Careca!
What do you think we could learn from the Brazilians that'll benefit the game in England?
It's clear that they go for power and strength, and it's a game played in the air, which means that the ball doesn't always reach the danger zones. Without a doubt, they have ball control, but the way they need to play and touch the ball needs to demonstrate more agility of movement. They should adopt the Brazilian skill of carrying the ball towards the goal, which is always our objective.
Sempre em busca do gol.
Worshippers on Rio de Janeiro's beaches slowly melt away with the onset of the South American winter, and the sportsmen and women take over. The Copacabana is marked out for beach football. Simon's baptism into this demanding and skillful game saw him having to resort to our famed English strengths, much to the locals' amusement. On the opposing side was an American from Oregon who travelled south on his own trail of discovery.
When I was on the beach in Rio, the Copacabana, I met an American, Corey Lawyer. He's from a fairly wealthy family, but he's decided to come over to Brazil to live in Rio, purely to learn about Brazilian football. For me, it was a kindred spirit. He's got very similar ideas for me and the same passion and love of the Brazilian game.
I've been in Italy, Germany, Argentina, Mexico, Spain. Haven't been to Britain yet, but I've seen the passion in these other countries for football, but nowhere have I seen the number of people playing football at all hours of the day. You get out here on the beach and you see these guys, men and women, old and young, and everyone's doing one touch, and everyone is trying to show up the other. And you get these unbelievable flicks with parts of your body that you never thought possible, that I hadn't been exposed to in both Europe or the States. I think Brazil is the only place in the world where football is an art, and it's so beautiful to watch people just touch the ball here. Big idols here in Brazil are obviously the soccer stars. Those are the greatest idols, and so many kids aspire to be soccer stars.
One of Brazil's brightest stars put on the King's clothes when he took Pele's famous number 10 shirt and then began to entertain football fans around the world.
Well, Zico's always been a great hero of mine, one of the world's greatest ever players. Some in Brazil would argue that he was better than Pele.